good win for our guys. I thought, again, the crowd, the support that we have here is second to none. And to walk into that stadium, there's a lot of energy in there and a lot of force and power that you have to deal with from coming out of those stands, and that's really important. We need a little more in the second half. We need for all 4 quarters here coming up, but realistically, there's 2 plays in there that I think were affected by the crowd alone, and I thought that goal line stand was one of them, and I thought the punt when the kid was backed up over there and punted a 20-some yard punt, I think a lot of that had to do with just the pressure applied from outside. So that's important that our fans understand just how important they are to this and how much they can impact the game. And we're going to need a lot of that coming up here this Saturday. So excited to see everybody do their part, and I know they will. I think good game. Obviously, the first quarter, we were moving the ball. There was a lot of yards. There was a lot of stops of their offense, and we just came away with really no points, which was a little bit frustrating. But then we were able to put it all back together here and do what we needed to do. And obviously all year we've been talking about finishing strong, just the idea of a year ago not being able to finish at times. And here, that is probably where we're been the most dominant is in the second half, just making adjustments and being able to play, and just the physicality at which we play for all 60 minutes certainly shows up on offense and defense. So I think that's a big thing. We got to start a little faster, although we did not start fast, because I thought we did a really good job. We just didn't get the ball in the end zone, so we can't turn it over 3 times to their 1 and expect to win. But just is what it is. We were able to bear down when we needed to on defense and do what we needed to do and come out of there with the victory. I think obviously you'll hear from Landon in a minute, but that game has been brewing all year long. I think his effort and his work ethic and the things that he does on a day-to-day basis is phenomenal. He's a leader in that room, and that's hard to do when you're here for 1 year. But I thought the quarterback's room and the receivers came together all week and really made sure they were on the same page, and that certainly showed up in this game. Again, and then Wayne, just really cool to see him, eclipse the 1,000-yard mark on the ground, and then to come out of there with 170-plus all-purpose yards. He does a lot for this football team, and I think he's, getting the recognition he deserves. Defensively, I thought a really good game. There was a couple that got out, and then just a couple plays that were extended due to circumstances beyond our control, but at the same point in time, I thought our guys, bared down when they needed to and came away with a victory. So looking forward to this week. Obviously, we have a tough ODU team coming in here. They're really, really good, as you all know, and that'll be a tough team to slow down and stop. I thought Marshall did a really nice job of it, but I can't imagine they come in here and turn the ball over 5 times. So there's going to be drives that you got to stop on your own, and I know our guys are looking forward to that challenge.
On Saturday, something Alonzo mentioned after the game was that with the injury, it did take him some time to really start to gel and click with the new receiving group, and he said it's kind of starting to hit its stride now. Is that something you've started to notice as the season has gone on? Yeah, I think so. I think more importantly, I think the ownership within each room that they've taken on themselves is really impressive. There's a bunch of meetings right now all throughout the week, last week and this week again, and it'll just continue to happen where they are just in there leading those meetings and getting on the same page. That's better than anything any coach could say, or from the quarterback room or the receiver room. They're the ones that have to go out there and execute it. So as the coaches are in there, they have a chance to speak up quite a bit, and it's really a player-led meeting. I think that's provided a lot of really just ability to be on the same page. And I think, even the interception, we were on the same page. We just saw it differently as far as what the reaction should be to the type of coverage we were getting there. And just, Lakota was on a little bit of a different page than Zoe, but it's something we worked and repped, and that one just, got away from us. But other than that, I thought, that has a lot to do with it, their time that they're spending together, and then also their ability to speak freely with one another and get on the same page, so that when you understand what the quarterback's seeing and where you are in that progression, that's a really big deal, as opposed to I just run this route because that's what my coach said. And I think that's probably where we've seen the biggest strides over the past couple weeks.
You were just talking about Marshall taking down ODU on Saturday. How much do you take into account your next opponent's previous game in terms of maybe lighting a fire under them and motivating them?
Yeah, I can't really speak to their motivation. I know what ours is, and I know that that's all that we need to worry about. But I'm sure they will be motivated. Who want to be, after that game, who want to be in general, period. So that's just how you have to play the game. So I don't think that, this game does one thing or another for them. And whatever it does for their mental state, we have really no impact on that whatsoever. We just got to come out here and play our style of football.
Another week where y'all's time possession was really advantageous to throw 40 times instead of controlling usually the run game. Is it kind of, and they know you can do that, control the ball while throwing more than just passing. Does that kind of give you?
We were not able to do that prior to, and now we were, right? So that's, I think, where when you can do that, like I said to you guys many times, every game's a little bit different. Not every game is the exact same recipe, and a lot of it has to do with matchups. A lot of it has to do with the defenses being played. A lot of it has to do with the score of the game and the time on the clock, and all those things put you in positions of different games that you might be playing. I don't think there's been, there's probably two that are similar to each other, but most of every other game was just a little bit different for very various reasons. And I think we just need to understand what kind of game we're in. We felt like we had an advantage in some of the past game. We felt like we were getting the ball out quickly when they were trying to load up the box, and I felt really good about a couple guys just getting the ball in their hands and doing more with it after the catch. I thought Wiz did a great job. And how many times did he touch the ball? 7 or 8 on Saturday, and how much yards after contact and missed tackles did he create? That was really cool to see. And the blocking that these receivers are willing to put on the line for each other is really what makes that whole thing go. So yeah, you can control the ball. You can control the clock either way. As long as it's effective. Again, a week ago, we were throwing for 2-point-some yards per attempt and running, the ball for 4.9 or 5 points. So, you're going to have to just kind of feel that out and see what kind of game you're in, and then where do you have an advantage and try to exploit that.
Was there something you saw from Wiz throughout that week of practice to give him more snaps and maybe more obvious passing situations?
Yeah, it's similar to now. Landon's been out there the whole time, but Wiz is that's been percolating a little bit as well, right? We go back to the preseason scrimmages, and he's done a phenomenal job. Like if you think about some of our biggest plays that were made in the preseason scrimmages on those Saturdays, a lot of them came down to him. He just has a knack for getting his body to the ball. He makes some hard catches, and we just had to give him a little bit more run to see what he could do with it, and he did a great job.
And I know Landon and Alonzo talked about an extra meeting between the quarterbacks
Yeah.
and the receivers.
Couple.
That y'all did last week.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
What have you seen? Anything specifically from Alonzo's leadership from last year compared to this year? Anything specific that you've seen him do a little bit better, more effectively?
Yeah, I think his ability to communicate that with those guys, and I'm not right on the bench when they come off, but you always want more of that, from receivers and quarterbacks to just constantly be talking all the time about what they just saw, exactly how they saw it, is always a really good thing to have, but it's got to start somewhere first, and that's usually in here. And I thought, if you sat in on one of those meetings and listened to, all the quarterbacks talk, but Alonzo in particular, like he sees this game the right way, he understands it, and then he understands coverages and tendencies and matchups, all those things. He really understands it at a very high level.
And then just the run game in general, what's been so impressive about the run blocking from the tight ends and from the interior and the tackles?
Yeah, well, I think it does start with it always starts with the offensive line, but where we were short a little bit last year, at moments was sometimes in the tight end room. When Fife got hurt for a couple of games, it took a little bit of a hit. I just think that we're just a lot better right now. I think Lakota does a great job. I think Fife does a great job. Logan Kyle does a great job. But our running backs are running with some serious purpose right now. It's very hard for one man to bring them down, and I think their yards after contact and their ability to break tackles certainly stands out as well. It's a full effort for all 11 guys on the field, including the receivers when some of those, and a quarterback in one particular play when the ball popped, right? Those are all things that everybody knows that their responsibility is to play, as hard as they possibly can, until that, play harder than the guy with the ball, right? That's their job, harder and longer than the guy with the ball in his hands, and that's what they've done.
And over the last 2 weeks, we've seen Sluka come in and try and run, but the box seems to be loaded when he steps in. I know about a month ago you said you need to see him drop back and pass it sometimes. How do you make sure that is what you guys are doing to capitalize on it so it's not,
Well, it depends where you are. If you're sitting at the 3rd and 5 that we were at, and we know we're going to go for it on 4th down, we're okay with running it twice right there. I think the snap was just a little high and hard to handle, so Jordan couldn't get his pads down like he wanted to, and how often do you miss that 4th and 2 so far this year, at least for us? I don't know if we ever have yet. But there we are in that situation. So I think, again, it's just like it, we're talking about the good plays. When a bad play happens, it's probably from the snap to the exchange to someone missing a block or falling off a block. And that's what happened on that play. But we were good with it at that moment.
Coach, what have you
Yeah, you saw a lot. They're going for 500 yards a game, pretty balanced to about not exactly, but close to 250, 250. So it's not just in the pass game. They spread you out to run the football. And when you watch number 20, he finds that green grass and he puts his pads down and a little tiny sliver of air in there. He's able to run through and make some plays. He's quick, fast, strong, all the things that come with it. A lot of similar to a lot of the running backs we've played throughout this year. They're all really, really good. But they spread you out to be able to do it. So then if you try to load up that box, now they're going to shoot the ball outside. And they got some pretty capable receivers outside with a quarterback that if he doesn't like what he sees on the pass play, pulls the ball down and runs. And he's physical like a running back. He doesn't look just like a quarterback out there. He's a guy that can throw it, can, dissect defenses and at the same point in time pull it down and create after the play. And that's all got to be part of what we got to do to keep it in check. A lot, in a different way to what it was this last week, but I thought we did a nice job of not letting that quarterback get out this past week. We're going to have some of that in there. This was just a little different. This was more boots and things of that nature. That's not really what they do. These guys are going to be downhill with pulling a million different people, a million different ways. The running back's going to find green grass. If you load up the box too much, they're going to take their shots. And if those shots are covered while he's attempting to take it, he's going to pull it down and run from the pocket. So those are all things we got to be very well prepared for.
Kind of going off of that, how have they made the jump from last year to this year? Because it just seems like they're putting up more points per game than last year. They're getting more explosive plays. Is it difference in scheme, or do they have different personnel that allows them to?
I mean, there are some intricacies in the run game for certainly, but they are who they are, and they do a great job. There's a lot, the being 3 or 4 formations by the end of the day only, and the diversity of plays that exist in there are really, really good. I think it's a quarterback. I mean, that's really where it starts, is that he is way more confident than he was a year ago. He understands this offense now from being in it for 2 years and executing it a year ago in pressure situations. And I think he's got a cast of guys around him that he trusts a whole lot. So that's probably the biggest difference. Starts with him.
Defensively, what kind of stands out with them as you flip on tape?
Yeah, it's a unique defense for sure. They're going to end up in a 3 down quite a bit with that one player, that extra 3 high safety that sits over the middle of the whole thing and adds into the run, and then we'll drop back out in the pass. And whether he's free or whether he's a Tampa 2 type guy, he does a little bit of everything from there. So they are very aggressive in the blitz game, and then every time they're in some sort of man free, the linebackers are adding in. If you leave the running back in to pick up one of their other blitzers, they're adding one more guy back in. So there's a lot in there that we have to again just really diagnose and understand, and then just realize the aggressive nature that they play with. They have a lot of talented guys out there on the defensive side of the ball, and they bring it. They don't sit back and just play vanilla defense. They're aggressive. So we have to be prepared for all of it.
Well, it's been made about finishing, and you just talked about it earlier. It's one thing to say it, and you can tell your team,
Yeah.
we got to finish. So think them to do it.
Yeah.
What is it about this team that's allowing them to finish games the right way?
Well, I think that their understanding of the game plan, their understanding of their opponent is at a different level this year compared to maybe it was a year ago. I think their trust in one another. There's guys that have been on this team for multiple years, but then there's other guys that have, at least we know who everybody is. That coming back through this second year. When we had first gotten here, there were so many new people, and the guys that were on the team already, we didn't know enough yet. And I think that trust and those bonds are getting developed every single day, that they're able to understand and look someone in the eye out on that field and understand they got each other's backs and understand that someone's about to make a play. I think a year ago, you didn't know everybody and everything that was going on, and it was more of you were nervous not to make a mistake. Now it's not the case now. They're excited to make a play on either side of the ball in those pressure situations. And that's what really good teams are built on, is the ability to know when that moment is about to present itself. Don't go chasing it, just be ready for it and then capitalize on it when it happens. And I think you're seeing on all 3 phases of this of the ball, from offense, defense, and special teams.
We've talked about this, and it's a pretty mature team. You brought in guys that have a lot of snaps, a lot of production. Is that part of how, again, with all the experience that they do have, you're seeing that be part of why they can make adjustments and not point the finger and finish games like they are?
Yeah, and I think that they also the brotherhood and the trust is real. I think that's a really important thing. Nobody points a finger at anybody else. You know, they are there to help each other and find a way to get through whatever you got to get through, right? And they understand it's not, you know, it's what they're going, you know, to, not what they're going through. That is the most important thing. And they know what they're trying to get to each week and what they're trying to get to by the end of this year. So whatever they're going through at that moment is not as important as what they're going to. And I think they keep their eye on the prize, stay focused on it, and just fight, you know, for and with each other every play. And that's important. They play some physical, tough football on all three phases of the game here. And I'm, you know, just continue to be impressed.
This is asked every year just with JMU, ODU, the Royal rivalry now. It's your second year in this. Do you play up the rivalry aspect of this?
I don't know. I didn't really, you know, think a whole lot about it, to be honest with you. I know we are, whatever exterior motivation you want to put on it, I guess you could, but there's enough here that we have to defend on offense and defense alone that I don't know if we need that extra element in there just yet. I'm sure by the end of the week I'll have a different answer for you. But right now, you know, it's just about us fully understanding who they are on offense, defense, and special teams, and getting our best game plans, you know, together to be able to be introduced so our guys can execute at a high level.
I know we've asked about this before too, the recruiting aspect of it, when you go down to 757 and everything like that. Recruiting is a little bit different nowadays with portal and everything. Does that still matter though, to try and have a little leg up on them?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime you could, you know, win a game against anybody that you recruit against, that's certainly a feather in your cap. So 100%, you need to make sure that, you know, I'm sure there are some recruiting ramifications that come with it, but at the same point in time, we got to find the right people for this program for the right reasons. But yeah, in-state team, like we talked about with Liberty, an in-state team, you know, that those people that are looking at us are probably also looking at them. You know, if you could have that upper hand, it's really important.
Any other questions for Coach? I think it was Saban that said something along the lines of when, you know, you lose a bad game, then the players kind of pick themselves up for them, and when you win close games, it's kind of when you coach hard. Would
Yeah.
you kind of agree with
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that it's in moments where, you know, that's really your job too, right? As a coach and as a leader. If it didn't go real well, it's about how do we find the positives and build it all up, right? If it goes well and you win, you know, there's just so many things that you have to correct and fix, and you have to do that either way. I think it's just an idea of where is your team at mentally, and what do you feel from them? You know, is it confidence? Is it lack of confidence? Is it overconfidence? Is it borderline cockiness? Like, those are all things that you don't want to live in any extreme. You just want to get back to the work. You want to get back to understanding what you got to do on a day-to-day basis, because any success you're going to have isn't going to come from, you know, looking too far ahead. It's going to come from living in that moment, right? And making sure that I don't want to say even keeled, but you're emotionally kind of even keel, but you're playing the game the right way, you know, as far as with passion and with energy, but you're not beating yourself up over a mistake from before, but you're not living too high on a great play, but you're letting, you know, the love of the game and the process that you go through every single day, that should be what carries you, you know, each play of every single day throughout every day of that week and finally into game day. Because you got to walk on that field on Saturday feeling really confident. When your foot steps over that line, you got to know that you got a prepared body, a prepared mind, right? A prepared, you know, heart. Everything that comes with it is ready for what you're about to do on that Saturday because of the work you put in before. And that's where I think our guys thrive.